morning, good afternoon, good evening. Troublesome roundabout or interchange, traffic interchange, is now finally been launched. I'm not here to talk about the costs of the project. I'm here to talk about Vision 2030. And we are now being promised by Zanu PF that Vision 2030 will mean seamless traffic flow, reduced congestion, enhanced safety, and elevated regional connectivity. My only question is, does this Vision 2030 also include free elections? And if not, why? If the regime is so sure of delivering Vision 2030, why is it refusing to be held accountable? Why is it determined to deny the people of Zimbabwe meaningful say in the governance of the country? Is it because the regime fears that its so-called Vision 2030 is just a mirage? One way of making sure the regime is accountable is, of course, the media. The media in a healthy and functioning society serves a very important role of informing and educating the people. And here is Mnangagwa talking about his vision of Zimbabwe's media.
Under my leadership, the media will continue to be our cornerstone for promoting unity, peace, social cohesion, harmony, and the love for our country. Anything besides this, Chibakera Mziso.
This is frightening. This is a president, a state president, talking of punishing those who dare hold him to account. I'm not saying that journalists the world over do not commit crimes. I'm sure if any of our journalists commit any crimes, they should be handled in the usual way. All criminals are handled. Brought before a court of law, charged, be found guilty, punished. But what he's talking about is what the regime has been doing ever since the country's independence. Anyone in the independent media will know that Zanu PF does not tolerate being held to account. The other day, I was discussing on this platform what happened to Jeff Nyarota when he revealed the so-called Willowgate motor scandal in the 1980s, when he was the editor of the Chronicle. And more recently, Blessed Mhlanga found himself incarcerated for no other reason than that he had interviewed and aired the interview with Blessed Keza, in which the latter called for the removal of Mnangagwa because this regime is corrupt. That is the problem here. But of course, the ultimate expression of democratic accountability is free, fair, and credible elections. Vision 2030 should include and must include restoring the people of Zimbabwe basic freedoms and rights, including the right to meaningful say in the governance of the country. That is the essence of good governance. Mnangagwa can deny all he wants. The truth of the matter is, Zanu PF has been rigging elections ever since the country's independence. Zimbabwe is a failed state because we have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections so that our elected leaders are accountable to the people. Here is Mnangagwa with his usual arrogance, denying that 2023 elections were free, fair, and credible.
Vana vakatuka Zanu PF kana ini ndonyanyisa kufara kuita zvakanaka. Ukavona vavengi vako vachikurumbidza unenge uchikanganisa. Ukavona vachiti Zanu PF yakaipa, farai. You are doing correct things for your country. Hongu takaita maelections edu kuna vamwe vaitaura zvisina musoro zvikanzi maelections anafamba zvakanaka ndezvavo.
Well, this issue is not negotiable. The people of Zimbabwe have a right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country. That is not negotiable. If Mnangagwa is so confident he can deliver his Vision 2030, why is he refusing to give the people of Zimbabwe a meaningful say in that? As long as people do not have the power to hold the regime to account, this Vision 2030 will remain a mirage. All these promises of seamless traffic flow will remain a mirage. Right now, as much as the regime has made a big song and dance about the launch or the completion of this troublesome interchange, the truth of the matter is most of our roads are in a deplorable state. Even major roads like the Bulawayo to Victoria Falls, Harare to Kariba, Harare to Bedbridge, they've got potholes. Much worse, the minor roads in the rural areas and even in our suburbs. The regime does not want to be held to account because it knows that Vision 2030 is a mirage. The people of Zimbabwe must make it very clear that the right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country is not a privilege, it's a right. And it's more than a right, it's the very essence of good governance. After 45 years of corrupt and tyrannical regime, the country is in this mess precisely because we failed to address this issue. And it's high time we address it. We are not interested in Vision 2030 if we cannot hold the regime to account for what it is doing today and tomorrow. And when we come to 2030 itself, if we have no meaningful say in the governance of the country today, we will still have no meaningful say in the governance of the country then. So we'll never hold this regime to account. There is no motive for them to implement anything. This is why even some of these projects, like this troublesome interchange, have costed a fortune. In 2023, Al Jazeera came out with a documentary on how much Zimbabwe was losing. 1.6 billion US dollars a year in smuggled gold. $1.6 billion. Nobody could hold the regime to account for it because we have no meaningful say in the governance of the country. And now the regime comes up with a project costing by its own account 100 million US dollars. And they make a big song and dance about it. And we are all expected to join in and celebrate on the success. Why are we being forced to celebrate 100 million? And yet we are not allowed to say anything about 1.6 billion that has been stolen. And by the way, the 100 million US dollars, the nation paid for this troublesome interchange. It's the nation that paid for it. It wasn't paid from some of the looted 1.6 billion. And like all other looting projects, the nation will continue to pay for it. It will be a matter of time before there are toll points and various points before you get into this interchange, or designed to suck more money from the ordinary person. We really need to address the issue of good governance. We need free, fair, and credible elections. SADC and the AU condemned 2023 elections as flawed and illegal. We want to see Zanu PF implementing the democratic reforms to make sure that 2028 elections are not a repeat of 2023. Vision 2030 is just a mirage. It is not backed by free, fair, and credible elections in 2028. And so far, Zanu PF has not implemented even one token reform to make sure that that happens. We should focus on reforms and free and fair elections in the future. Thank you very much. Have a good day.